how did we get here? A generation pushed to the edge, while another holds most of the wealth. To figure that out, we need to peel things back and look at how the gap formed. Over time, assets built up: homes, pensions, investments, but mostly for those already ahead. Meanwhile, younger people stepped into a new economy. More flexible, sure, but far less secure. So now we're left with the big question. Can the next generation really move forward? Or are they starting miles behind? Let's investigate.
Let's get straight into it. Open Canva and create a new design. I am using a 16:9 video crop, which is the most suitable format for a Vox-style documentary. A quick note on the video editor. While the latest Canva update is still in beta, I am continuing to use the older video editor as I find it much more reliable until the current issues are resolved. First, let's work on the opening collage scene. Open the Photos library and search for white grid math paper. Select this one, place it on the canvas, and enlarge it to the full width. Next, search for a blank torn piece of white paper. Select one, place it in the corner of the canvas, and with the image selected, open the Edit tab and choose the Shadows effect. Select a drop shadow. The default settings usually work well, but you can adjust them as you prefer. This will help maintain a consistent shadow angle throughout the scene. Go back to the Photos library and now filter for cutouts only and search for paper clips. Select this one, place it on the other side of the canvas, and you can optionally add a drop shadow if it works well for your design. Search for blank note and select one of your choice, place around here. Next, search for torn paper, select one you like. Again, shadowing is optional. Press T on your keyboard, type out a generation, and then a new line and left behind. Set the top line to a font called Caveat. Then select the bottom line and set it to the Lost in South font, like so. Highlight the top line again and set its sizing to 104 pixels. Select the bottom line and set it to 145 pixels. Reduce the line spacing all the way to the minimum. Then rotate the whole text layer to -6 degrees. Open the Elements tab, filter for frames, and search for Polaroid. Look for this one, then place it on the canvas, changing the angle like so. Now you can grab the one to the left of it like so and place it on top, pretty much in the center of the canvas. Go back to the Photos library and search for Protest. Look for this one, then drop it into the image frame sitting at the back. Now search for blank yellow tag. Select this one and place it on the canvas. Now open the Videos library, search for Protests once more and find this video. You can drop this one right into the center image frame, like so. Press T on your keyboard and type out a relevant headline, and then place it over the blank note. Change the font to the Rubik Marker Hatch font. Then open the Elements tab, search for Underline. Select this one, place it beneath the text like so. Select both layers and rotate. Do the same for the yellow tag. We will cover the animations and transitions once we complete the design of the remaining scenes. Time to move on to the next scene. Open a new page, then in the video library, search for paper background. Select this one and place it on the background like so. Next, open the Photos library filter for cutouts and search for student showing laptop. Select this one and place it on the left side of the canvas like so. With the image selected, open the Edit panel and select the geotone effect. Scroll down to the bottom and select the classic tone. Open the Adjust panel and increase the blacks. Then scroll down to the Texture section and increase these 3 parameters like so. Next, open the Shadows effect and select the Outline preset like so. Change the size to 25 and set the color to be yellow or one of your choice. Go back to page 1 and copy the main title there. Paste it onto page 2. Update the wording to say Wealth Distribution and rotate the angle back to 0 degrees. Align the text to the left and position it like so. Open the Elements tab, search for hand-drawn line highlighter, select this one, and place it beneath the word Distribution. Make sure it sits behind the text layer, and update the color to match the outline of the figure below. Now, press R on your keyboard to create a rectangle. Resize like so, update the color and position here. Press T on your keyboard and type out, "Working harder, earning less." Update the font to Times New Roman. Then align it to the right and reposition so the top line goes over the yellow circle, like so. Press T on your keyboard once again and type out Median Net Worth. Update the font to Montserrat Medium. Rotate by 90 degrees and set the font size to 22 pixels. Press R on your keyboard to create a rectangle. Set the color to black. Resize and reposition like so. Duplicate this rectangle. Place the other one just above it. Change the color to yellow. Press T on your keyboard and type out 39K. Position it in the center of the yellow box. Type out age, put 36 and under. Resize and reposition like so. Select the largest rectangle and increase its length substantially. This will work really well when we add a match and move transition to this scene and the others following. In fact, you will notice that this one square remains in every scene throughout the composition, but it is morphed into a different size and shape for each one. Duplicate the page, delete the student image from the new page. Reposition the yellow box so it aligns to the left of the page. Update the text to say where the money stayed. Then change the median net worth graph to reflect $410,000 in the age range of 65 to 70-year-olds. Change the main title to say New Economy. Open the Photos library and search for Mindfulness Practices, Woman Doing Tapping Meditation. Find this one and position it to the right of the frame, like so. Select the Background Remover tool, then open the previous page. Copy the styles from the student image and paste it onto the image of the woman on page 2. Duplicate the page and remove all elements except the title and the yellow square. Reshape the square so it sits in the top left corner behind the main title. Open the Charts app and in the Infographic Charts section, select the Progress Ring chart. Set your parameters to suit the narrative of your story. Select both percentage label and rounded endpoints to be on, and update the colors to suit your theme. Place a small title just below this first chart. Make a duplicate of both layers and place the other one to the right in line with the yellow square. Update the parameters and title to the second one accordingly. Open the Charts app again and in the Infographics section, select a pictogram chart. Select one of your choice and again, select the parameters and style to suit your project. Open a new page so we can get started on the timeline graphic. Press L on your keyboard to create a line shape and enlarge it to almost the full width of the canvas. Press C to create a circle and set the main color to be white. Give it an 8-pixel border and set that color to be dark gray. Hold Alt on your keyboard and make 5 more duplicates of the circle, making sure they remain centered along the line. Place the last one at the very end of the line, then select all 6 circles, open the Positions tab, and distribute them horizontally so there is an even gap between each one. Press L on your keyboard to create a new line. Set the stroke to be dashed, then set the endpoint to be a circle, like so. Rotate by 90 degrees and inline it vertically with the very first circle in the timeline, then set the color to be a lighter shade of gray. Duplicate this line for each circle, alternating between the top and bottom sides of the timeline. Add a title at each point with optional text underneath if you want to expand each idea. Create a yellow circle and place it here, then repeat this throughout for extra visual interest. Open the Photos library and search for 1950 child photography. Select this image, place it at the start of the timeline, aligned with the first point, place it at the bottom, and remove the background. Open the Adjust panel and reduce the saturation to remove the yellow tint. Open the Elements tab, search for Circle Frame, select one, and place it at the end of the timeline. Resize it so it sits directly over the yellow circle. Return to the image library and search for old man holding banknote. Remove the background, make a duplicate, and place the duplicate inside the circle frame. Align the circle frame with the bottom of the main image. Use a guideline to line up the top of both images. Enlarge the image inside the frame so the head aligns with the guideline. Confirm the crop and lock the frame. Then move the original image over the frame and carefully align the shirt edges. Crop the bottom slightly until you achieve a circular shape. This creates a subtle three-dimensional effect. Once the timeline design is complete, select all elements and group them. Return to the previous page and duplicate it. Remove the charts and the title. Change the shape of the yellow square and paste the grouped timeline onto the page. Enlarge the timeline so the first markers and their text are clearly visible. Duplicate the page and reposition the timeline so only the final markers and the image of the man are visible. Duplicate again and remove the timeline. Move the yellow box so it sits at the bottom. Open the Photos library and search for Student from behind. Remove the background and center the image. Copy the style from the earlier student image and paste it onto this one. Search for Planet Earth cutout, select one, place it at the center, and position it between the yellow box and the paper background. Search for Money Bag, select one, and place it on the left side of the globe near the corner. Then search for Graduation Hat, select one, and place it on top of the money bag. Press T and type 2000s. Duplicate it and type student debt error. Create 3 more image markers, or however many you need, and space them evenly across the canvas. Press the letter C to create a circle shape and give it a thick black border. Hold Shift and select both the circle and the globe. Open the position settings and center the circle over the globe. Hold Alt and enlarge the circle while keeping it centered. This will create a guide for the circular timeline. Place each marker so that the circle passes through the middle of each image. Make sure the lower markers align with each other and the upper markers align with each other. Press the letter L to create a line. Set the line to end with an arrow and set the stroke style to dashed. Change the color to yellow and place the line between the first 2 markers. Ensure the endpoints sit in the middle of the line stroke. Change the line type to curve and give it a subtle bend that sits neatly within the stroke. Repeat this for the next gaps. Once complete, remove the circle guide and change the dashed arrows to dark gray. Duplicate the page. Remove all elements and enlarge the yellow square to cover the entire canvas. Press the letter R to create a rectangle. Resize it so it fills the bottom third of the page. Open the Elements tab, search for car, select the animated filter, and scroll to find a futuristic animated car. Place it at the center and resize it. Press T and type the road ahead. Change the font to Etna Sans Serif and position it here. Create a subtitle that says, "Can the next generation catch up?" and set the font to Times New Roman. Position it under the main title. Create a blank page and set the background to black. We are now ready to move on to the narration. Quick pause before we continue. Look at this. This was my first attempt to complete Lily, my AI avatar, from the top down. And the frustrating part wasn't just the images. It was knowing none of this would hold up once I tried to animate her. I've tried this with pretty much every well-known image generator, and none of them came close. Proportions break, identity shifts, or the character just stops feeling consistent. With character reference in Ray 3 Modify from Luma AI, that problem is basically solved. I can generate a full character sheet, multiple angles and poses, lock the identity, and reuse that consistently across videos. Once you're done, you can merge that character straight into a scene and render it out in 4K beauty. And what's really cool is this. Here's a reimagining of what an early industrial steam engine might have looked like from a time when footage simply didn't exist. Instead of guessing, you can direct how the scene evolves while keeping motion and timing consistent. That's going to really catch the eye of you documentary filmmakers. That's the shift with the new Ray 3 Modify update. The look can change, but the performance stays the same. I'm not guessing anymore. I'm actually directing. That's human-led AI. If you want to try it yourself, use the link in my description or scan the QR code on screen to explore Ray 3 Modify by Luma AI in Dream Machine. All right, let's get back to the tutorial. Now, let's take a listen to the opening sentence of my AI narration.
How did we get here? A generation pushed to the edge, while another holds most of the wealth.
You may have noticed this narration shows a bit more expression than our usual voiceovers. For this one, I have been experimenting with 11 Labs' most expressive model called V3, which offers a broad dynamic range controlled by inline audio tags. Go to your 11 Labs dashboard and open the text-to-speech interface as usual. From here, under the model, select the 11V3 model. With that selected, open the Voices section. Make sure the filter for Best Voices for V3 is selected and select one that suits your own project. I have chosen Alexandra for this particular composition, which I found to be fitting in with regards to the Vox-Style. So let's pay particular attention to this opening sentence while we are generating our voiceover. It's important when you are generating any narration or even narrating yourself that you always front load all of your effort. So when your audience hears those first few words, they can hear quality. With that said, let's paste in the first line of our script and hit generate.
How did we get here? A generation pushed to the edge, while another holds most of the wealth.
This is a great start already, and now let's take it one step further. Let's click on this link here to see the list of different tags we can add to the script narration to add an extra layer of expression. So if we were to assume that our narrator is within the age group of the people affected in this particular documentary, we might expect her to sigh with disappointment. Let's try that. Even if you don't have the list of audio tags in front of you, you can still put in what you think should be there. Once you're happy, click on the Enhance button here at the bottom, and 11 Labs will generate the most suitable audio tags for you.
How did we get here? A generation pushed to the edge, while another holds most of the wealth. How did we get here? A generation pushed to the edge, while another holds most of the wealth.
Okay, I think that's a good start, but the sigh is a bit heavy and overwhelming for the kind of narration we're looking for. Let's change the tag to say soft sigh.
How did we get here?
Much better. As I was saying earlier, you can continue to work on this until you're really happy with the opening sentence. 11 Labs allows 2 free generations after your initial one to make any adjustments, as long as you don't change the text. If you decide to sign up for 11 Labs, you can find an affiliate link below. It would really help the channel grow, and I genuinely appreciate it. Now that the narration is complete, let us begin the animations and transitions. Go back to the Canva project and duplicate the opening scene. Remove the footage layer from the duplicate. Download that page as a PNG. Re-import the PNG into a new page so we can apply some effects. Select the image, open the Edit tab, and choose the blur filter. Set it to whole image and raise the intensity to between 40 and 50%. Open the animation panel and add a succession animation. Set it to the highest speed and the lowest intensity. Hold Alt and enlarge the image until it extends evenly beyond all sides of the canvas. Duplicate the page. On the second version, remove the animation. Resize the image so it matches the canvas and remove the blur. Set the duration of the first page to 0.5 seconds. Then add a match and move transition between the 2 pages and set it to maximum duration. It is helpful to set the background of the first page to a dark gray. Copy the footage layer from the original page and paste it onto the second page. Open the Apps section and give it a scrapbook animation. Make sure it is set to On Enter. Open the Elements tab and search for Shadow Border Vignette. Select this one and place it on the first page. Crop and position it so it creates an even vignette around the design. Copy it and place it on the second page as well. We will add more textured overlays later. Now let us work on the paper crunch transition. Reduce the duration of page 2 to 2 seconds. Open the video library and search for paper. Find the clip with the green screen background and place it on top of everything. Trim the video to around 1 second so it only includes the first crunch. Remove the green background using the background remover. You may notice a green glow around the paper. This occurred during filming. Let's fix that. With the video selected, open the Edit tab. In the Adjustment panel, reduce the saturation and vibrance to the lowest possible level. Increase the brightness slightly to match the tone of the next scene. Increase the speed of the clip. At the top menu, set the speed to 1.75. Scale the video upward so that once the paper unfolds, it covers the entire canvas. Right-click and choose Show Element Timing. Set the clip to appear only in the last half second of the scene. Open the next page and set all elements to appear after a short delay to give breathing room for the transition. The student image should be the first visible element. Give the student image a brush animation. Set the style to curve and animate both in and out. Give the title and the subheading a shift animation and set the writing style to character. Apply a suitable animation to the remaining elements. Add a match and move transition between these two pages with a duration of 1.5 seconds. Adjust the timing of all elements so they do not interfere with the transition. Only the black and yellow squares should travel through the transition into their new positions. Follow this same method for the next two scenes. Only the background paper effect and the yellow box should move through the match and move transition. When you reach the timeline scene, give the first timeline group a drift animation from right to left. For the second version, give it a baseline animation with the exit set from right to left. Make sure it leaves the page before the transition begins. When you reach the globe scene, create a rectangle and group it with the student image. Set the rectangle's transparency to 0. This will help with transition control. Copy a version of this grouped element to the previous page and enlarge it significantly. You can also add a blur effect. Position it here. Give the globe an old television animation at a slow speed. Then open the motion effects and add a rotation effect at the slowest speed. Select all timeline markers and set them to appear later in the scene. You can return later to sync them with the narration. Press T and type New World Economy in Times New Roman. Open the effects panel and add a curve effect. Adjust it until it roughly matches the arc of the globe. I found that a value of 65 works well. Give it a typewriter animation with writing style set to character and animate set to both in and out. Select the student image and add a baseline animation with exit enabled. Adjust the timing so it leaves the screen just before the transition. Go to the next scene and copy the car. Paste it onto the globe scene. Adjust the timing so it appears immediately after the student leaves. Give the car a baseline animation with enter enabled. On the car scene, give both text layers a shift animation. Adjust the timing so both texts end before the transition begins. Press T and type miles, then duplicate it and type behind. Assign both text layers the DM serif display font and align them to the bottom of the black rectangle. Duplicate the page, remove the first title in the second version, and adjust the timing of miles and behind so they overlap during the transition. On the second version, reduce the size of the car so it appears to drive away from the viewer during the match and move transition. Now search online for the Monty Python foot. It is a surprisingly influential piece of popular culture that has been used by many filmmakers and editors. Type the word det on the foot, group them together, and add a baseline animation with the direction set to down so the foot stomps on the car. Then select all of the elements, including the car, and set them to finish exactly as the foot lands. Now let's layer in our music track. Open the audio tab and search for Arthur Benson. This composer creates ideal music for this kind of content, and I would highly recommend that you check out his catalog for your own projects. The track I have chosen is called Insidious Mice. At this stage, add your narration to the timeline and begin synchronizing all scenes with the spoken audio. This is easier to do before adding the texture overlays, as you will have full access to all layers.
How did we get here?
When ready, open the Elements tab and search for Overlay Texture Noise Grunge. Scroll until you find this version, place it on the canvas, and enlarge it to the full height. Hold Alt and duplicate it until the full width is covered. Add a copy of this to every scene to maintain consistent texture throughout. Time for some sound design. Open the Audio tab and filter for sound effects. Search for Camera Shutter 13. Place it at the beginning to match the opening collage animation. Next, search for Cards Flip Card 1 and line it up with the video footage animation. Reduce the volume to around 30. Search for Bag Crumple and match it with the paper crunch transition. Reduce the volume significantly. Search for typewriter type 6 and match it with the curved typing effect on the globe. Reduce the volume to around 25.
More flexible, sure.
Search for car start 1 and match it with the appearance of the car.
So now we're left with the
Then search for car drive off slow F and match it with the moment where the car drives away.
miles behind.
If you would like a deep dive into sound design for compositions like this, you can watch this video. And if you would like access to this template, you can find it on my Patreon. Until next time.